and the Israelis are victorious over this terrorist organization, the global jihad that Hamas is part of as well. All right, I also have one more guest with me. His name is Eylon Levy. Eylon Levy is the former international advisor to the Israeli President Isaac Herzog. And Eylon, thank you very much for joining us on this broadcast. And my first question, of course, what is the current situation right now in Israel? And what have you been learning about this military operation that has started in full stead along Gaza?
With the implications of the massacre that Hamas committed on the 7th of October. Details are beginning to come in from the villages along the Gaza borders of the most gruesome scenes imaginable. Hamas death squads went door to door, shooting people in the street, murdering people in their homes. There are videos on TV now of houses burnt to the ground with their inhabitants still inside. Reporters taken around Kfar Aza reporting bodies of dead children in body bags, report some were beheaded. And Israeli society is now mobilizing. Israel is mobilizing for what is going to be a serious war against Hamas, a jihadi terror organization, not in order to deter it, not in order to degrade it, but in order to destroy Hamas. The world has to realize that what happened on Saturday is now the second deadliest terror attack in world history. 1,200 people have been murdered, and we're still finding new bodies. That makes the October 7th massacre the deadliest terror attack in world history after 9/11, and Israel is now getting ready, imposing a siege on the Gaza Strip to destroy Hamas's military and governing capabilities.
Right, and a very pertinent question. What, according to you, triggered this onslaught of Hamas terrorism into Israel?
Hamas has made no secret for many years about its intentions to murder Jews and destroy the state of Israel. It is a violent jihadi organization that exists for that purpose, to murder Jews and eradicate Israel. Just in 2018, some people may remember the scenes of Palestinian rioters running up against the Gaza border fence when Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar urged them to tear down the border and rip the Jews' hearts from their bodies. Back then, Israel took action to stop them invading, and now we know exactly what they would have done. This is something that Hamas has been planning for a very long time, out in the open. It's been very clear about its murderous intentions, and on Saturday it spotted a window of opportunity when Israel's defenses were low and Israel was distracted elsewhere, and they went in and committed the second deadliest terror attack in world history.
Now, Mr. Levy, do you also think that there is any specific reason for Hamas to take on Israel at a point of time when the country was celebrating a holiday?
It's important to understand the geopolitical context. Hamas is a jihadi terror organization supported by Iran. Iran has an interest, as another country that calls Israel a cancer, that says it wants to destroy Israel, in sabotaging the prospects for peace and normalization between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And many observers have speculated that Iran is trying to derail the normalization talks between Israel and Saudi Arabia. But it's also important to understand this is an operation that Hamas has been planning for a very long time. Its stated aim is the murder of Jews and the eradication of the state of Israel. This isn't something new. This isn't something that was triggered overnight. This is a plan that Hamas was building for a long time while distracting Israel and trying to convince Israel that actually it was interested in governing the Gaza Strip, in improving economic conditions there. And it turns out that that was a ruse. That was a deception. That all along Hamas was using the money that it was receiving from Qatar, from international aid, in order to build a war machine that would perpetrate the second deadliest terror attack in world history. And they spotted an opportunity to do just that.
Is the war on Hamas the new war on terror, global jihad? And what do you think are going to be the implications of it?
Israel has been fighting terror for decades. It's been fighting the sort of jihadist terror that has struck other countries, and Israel is much more familiar with it. The war on terror in Israel is nothing new, but now it has gone up a step. Now it has gone up a step. What happened on the 7th of October was not only Israel's 9/11. It was not only Israel's Pearl Harbor. It was Israel's Bucha, in which over 1,000 people were massacred in cold blood. And Israel is now shifting gear in its war against terror, from saying that Hamas is a terror organization that can be degraded, that can be cut down to size, that can be deterred, to saying it is a terror organization that must be defeated. And it's interesting to observe some of the rhetoric we're hearing from the international community. Former President Barack Obama saying the world must support Israel in its efforts to dismantle Hamas. President Joe Biden yesterday in a very powerful speech saying that if the United States had suffered what Israel suffered, its response would be swift, decisive, and overwhelming. And that is exactly the gear shift that is going to happen in Israel's war against terror now, to a swift, decisive, and overwhelming response to destroy the jihadist organization known as Hamas.
Do you also feel at this point in time also expectant of the allies of Israel to join your war? What developments could lead to such escalation?
First of all, I have to say that the international solidarity has been overwhelming, from the Houses of Parliament and the European Commission and the Eiffel Tower and the Arch of Titus in Italy to monuments all over the world being lit up in blue and white. Israelis know that the civilized world is looking at Israel and understands what we have been through and recognizes Israel's right to self-defense. But let's be clear. As long as we're fighting Hamas inside the Gaza Strip, Israel is going to defend itself by itself. It needs international diplomatic support. It needs international public support. We're going to need shipments of arms and ammunitions. But as long as we're fighting Hamas, this is something Israel is going to do by itself through a total mobilization of the entirety of society and over 300,000 reserves. Now, you mentioned the American aircraft carrier, which is very important. They're sending an aircraft carrier into the Mediterranean in order to send a very clear message to Iran. Do not mess with Israel. If you mess with Israel, you're messing with the United States. It's an overwhelming projection of force here in the Mediterranean to make the situation very clear to Hamas's puppet masters in Tehran not to escalate this conflict and not to turn it into a regional war on multiple fronts. Because if Israel finds itself being attacked both on the south from Hamas and from the north from Hezbollah, its response is going to be truly overwhelming, and the world would be wise to do everything it can to avoid that.
Eylon, where do you see this war headed here on?
Where is this war heading? That's a very difficult question. It's a very difficult question to answer because it depends on whether Hamas is going to surrender in response to Israel's overwhelming tactics to try to force it into surrender, or whether it's going to keep fighting until, well, I don't want to speak about the potential scenes of destruction that we may see. But it's important for the world to understand that Israel is committed now to destroying Hamas as a military organization capable of unleashing crimes against humanity from the Gaza Strip. And the world needs to use every lever of pressure, diplomatic and otherwise, on the Palestinians in order to get Hamas to be dismantled as an organization capable of committing crimes against humanity so that Israelis can live in peace and security, which is, of course, the key for Palestinians to live in peace and security too.
Thank you so much, Eloy, for joining us on this very special telecast.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.